You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio. Welcome to the Bitter Medicine Podcast, where it's all about Black empowerment. Our show focuses on Black news and entertainment, arts, science, economics, history, people, and strategies that uplift, empower, and motivate Africans within the diaspora. And now, your host, whose favorite color is black, Goku.
Welcome back to the Bitter Medicine Podcast. I'm your host, Koku. Today's show, before we get into today's show, let me give the customary free biz shout out. Free business shout out goes to Stephanie Renee's Salon, located at 1614 West Main Street in Kalamazoo, Michigan. The zip code there is 49006. You can reach Stephanie Renee's Salon at 269-459-6535. That's 269-459-6535. They're conveniently located inside Cali Beauty. Next up is amymarie.maven.com. That's AMYMARIE.MAYVENN.com. They also deal in natural hair care products. Their mission is to provide high-quality products with unparalleled shopping experience, world-class technology and hair care products, etc. You can find them at amymarie.maven.com. Next up is Melanated Conscious Society. You heard me talking to Kepra L on my podcast several weeks back. You could find them at www.melanatedconscioussociety.com. melanatedconscioussociety.com is a mentor Black community empowerment organization in Jacksonville, Florida. Make sure to follow them on all social media platforms. And if you have a skill or talent related to marketing, like social media marketing or graphics or whatever you can do, or reach out to them and offer your assistance. It's for a good cause. It's organizing for our people. Lastly, Glennae Davis on Twitter. She could be reached at GLENNAERN@gmail.com. I'll just read what she sent me. She said, "Hello, thanks for your reply. I'm Glennae Davis, an LA-based registered nurse, author of a critically acclaimed memoir, Yet Here I Stand, creator and chief nurse of Nave's Vision, a healthcare media empire where we provide the healthcare education and planning to bridge the gaps of knowledge between discriminated, disadvantaged people facing employment discrimination and the healthcare industry, resulting in having a strategic plan with the medical support they need to no longer be victimized, merchandised, or marginalized by the system." I currently have 2 products available for your listeners. Number 1 is the memoir, and number 2, a free health checklist. So guys, if you're listening, make sure reach out to Glennae Davis. Once again, her email address is GLENNAERN@gmail.com. Also, I want you guys to take a listen to this.
Greetings, family! In case you didn't know, the Bitter Medicine Podcast hosts an online book club. Every month, we will select a book to inspire the Bitter Medicine Podcast listening audience to read along together. At the end of the month, we will host a call-in show book discussion live on YouTube. This is a great dynamic way for readers to not only enjoy a book, but also have others to bounce ideas off of. It's been said that if you want to hide anything from Black people, put it in a book. Do not allow this to be true anymore. Head over to www.bittermedicineblogs.com and subscribe to our newsletter for important updates. Do that today. Join our reading collective today and empower yourselves, your family, and your community. Peace.
Yes, indeed. And the book that we're reading for the month of October is The Destruction of Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams. Make sure to head over to the website, to the blog site, and use the affiliate link to order your copy today and join in the discussion. So today's show, I'm happy to be doing this show today because I think this is an example of Black excellence. I think this is Black folks living up to the code of Blackness in terms of being entrepreneurs, in terms of using their knowledge, their skills, etc., to enhance and further the Black community. I want to welcome in my guests, Mr. Davonte Walker and his Queen Sinclair. Devon and Sinclair, are you guys on the line?
Yes, sir. Thank you for that beautiful intro.
Oh, man, it's my pleasure. Again, I think we spend a lot of time talking about these celebrities that do very little or give very little back to our community. Let's talk about the people who are really Black-minded and focused on doing something significant for us, you know?
Thank you. Yes, sir. And we appreciate it. And we've gotten definitely a lot of love recently, so we appreciate the love from everywhere.
Yeah, I came across you guys. I can't remember which Instagram page it was, if it was Colossal or one of those, maybe it was buyblack.com, but it was one of those Instagram pages, and they kind of showcased you guys, and they showcased this new product that you have. But before we talk about the product, let the listeners know a little bit more about you.
Okay. So myself, Davonte Walker, I'm from Southern California. I like to start off with the fun fact that my first job was working on a farm. So I'm from the LA area, but there was a nice small farm in the San Fernando Valley. And I worked on that farm during middle school for about $20 a day.
Wow.
So I like kind of showing that background, where I come from, some hard work. And that's definitely starting to pay off right now. Went off to get my bachelor's degree in sociology from UC Davis. That is where I met the wonderful, the Queen, the beautiful Sinclair herself.
Yes,
and then we started True Health Forever in 2016. And it started off as just really a lifestyle promise to ourselves, because we were looking around, particularly within our own families, and we were seeing health disparities like diabetes, cancer, obesity, depression, just, things that plague most Black populations, but we saw it directly in our families. And we wanted to, take that negative and spin it around and turn it into, education for ourselves, our family, and our friends to live their best life. So that's what we've been doing since 2016, slow and steady. Our first major kind of accomplishment was Black Wall Street, the board game, focusing on economic health, trying to teach people about, entrepreneurship, financial literacy, and just educating them on the things that they can build and things that they can own themselves. And that's where we're here today.
I got to tell you, Queen Sinclair, I'm going to take your input in a second, but I got to tell you, when I hear you speak just now, I can sense it's sincere. You know what I mean? And speaking of sincere, let's hear from the Queen, Miss Sinclair. All right.
All right. Well, like you said, we met in college, so we both went to UC Davis. And so I grew up in Riverside, California. And, similarly to Devon, I've always been noticing kind of the health disparities in my family, and wondering, what can I do about it? And so when we kind of created this vision of, well, what if we get together and create this business and this lifestyle where we can influence people and, not only change our own lives, because we were looking at our own selves, right, and we did not have the healthiest habits, but also, how can we inspire others to do the same? Because really, in order to live your best life, you need to be your best you. And so that's what we're trying to create. We're trying to inspire everybody to create the best version of themselves. And not just in the typical sense of what is health. I feel like when we talk about what is health, it's always, okay, it's, being skinny and being able to run fast, and it's a very narrow-minded view of health. And so we decided to broaden the lens a little bit and really look at holistic health. So, not only physical health, but social health, economic health, and spiritual health. Those are kind of the four emphases that we like to think about and preach to people.
Now, for the listeners, I hope you guys are paying attention and listening to what's being said, and notice that there's no sense of making a sale here. Like this couple is talking about what they saw around them, what they wanted to change around them, and you don't hear them trying to pitch a sale at all. And that's something that we got to be very aware of. A lot of people come in pro-black sheep's clothing, but they're really wolves underneath. They're really just trying to sell something. And I really appreciate hearing that kind of sincerity from the both of you.
Thank you, Coach.
Is there a website to your business, the True Health Forever? Is there a True Health Forever website?
Yes, sir. True Health Forever with the number 4 in it.com. So that's where we got started. There's a lot of blogs on there.
Great.
And a lot of that is telling our personal story, our personal experiences. And then we built a separate website for Black Wall Street, the board game. That's playblackwallstreet.com.
Oh, great. And we're going to talk about the board game. So for my listeners, everyone should be aware of what Black Wall Street was, what it meant, and its destruction and what that meant to us. Davonte or Sinclair, can you guys talk about how Black Wall Street influenced you enough to make a board game based on it?
So really the knowledge that I had about Black Wall Street prior to maybe 2 years ago was very limited. I'm currently 25. I've been through college, and even at that moment, I've only heard about Black Wall Street in one intro to African American Studies class. And they really just gave us a brief, this happened in Tulsa. It got bombed in 1921, and that's it. And then we kept moving on.
Right.
So what motivated me to do additional research about it was I actually helped out with the Village Nation in the LAUSD area, and they have a summer camp every year called Unicamp. They take African diaspora students up to Big Bear for a week long. They're in cabins. They're receiving mentorship, workshops about how to get to college, workshops about, the use of the N-word and how that affects our people, workshops about Black and brown love, all this stuff. And in that workshop or in the camp, you need to come up with a camper name. Now, myself, I'm always been about economic empowerment, always been about entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. So when I went up to the camp, my name was Black Wall Street. Mm. But I didn't, at that time, this was about 2 years ago, I didn't really know, the real power that had. I just liked it on the surface level. Okay. But kids are some curious creatures. They ask all types of questions. They're not afraid to ask questions. Absolutely. So when I was at the camp, all the kids were asking me, "Oh, what's Black Wall Street? What does that mean? What was that?" And I didn't have too many answers for them at that time. Mm. So that's really what motivated me to go ahead and, all right, how can I learn about Black Wall Street? So I started reading some books, started watching some documentaries, and then after that, I learned that it was a community that was building in the late 1800s, a little bit after the oil boom in the Tulsa area. Entrepreneurs came in like O.W. Gurley, who bought up 40 acres, subdivided it, and basically sold it just to Black families. O.W. Gurley also built a boarding home for people that are running away from racial persecution in Mississippi. They're able to find kind of a safe haven in the boarding home of Gurley. Then other entrepreneurs like J.B. Stratford, Mabel B. Little, Madam C.J. Walker, all these people kind of poured into the city and built it up to have their own schools, have their own bus systems, have their own grocery stores, movie theaters, barbershops, Uncle Steve's barbecue, all types of stuff. And unfortunately, as they got more and more successful, they also got more and more hate, as you would say. Mm-hmm. And, folks came in, out-of-towners came in and didn't really like what was going on. And, long story short, Black Wall Street, or Tulsa, a.k.a. Little Africa, got burned, destroyed, and bombed in June 1st, 1921. But after learning all of that, I wanted to really highlight the positives. I wanted to highlight the fact that, 100 years ago, with no internet, no Instagram, no access to loans, these entrepreneurs were able to build their entire whole city. So how can we do that today? Mm-hmm. So in order to teach all that, I was like, all right, let's do a board game. Let's do a game, something that's fun, something that's light. The kids can play it and kind of subtly be learning the tools of how to build wealth and also learning about what happened in Black Wall Street.
I have the same question for your queen, Miss Sinclair. Miss Sinclair, what was your introduction to Black Wall Street?
So my introduction was almost exactly the same to Davon's. I learned about it in the same class. We didn't take it at the same time, but that's where I learned it as well. When I took the Intro to African American Studies class, and I was really just blown away. I had no idea that something like that existed, because it just blew my mind that a great city like that, or a great neighborhood, whatever you'd like to call it, existed, and I hadn't heard about it. Mm-hmm. So that in itself was interesting to me. But after that, I really learned most of my stuff from Mr. Davon. He's become very knowledgeable about the subject, and we really have a lot of conversations lately about what does that mean today? What would that look like today? Because we're in such a different place than they were in back then. And so, we really were trying to think of what is a fun way that we can teach people and teach the kids about how to entrepreneurship, basically, how to go out and start their own businesses, because that's really what is setting us apart from some other communities right now. And it's funny, because as we were creating this game, I realized how much I was learning for the first time while creating this game. And I'm 24. And, I think that's something that we definitely should change. And that's kind of what the mission of this game is. Imagine what we could really do as a community if we have kids learning what an LLC is at age 9. I really had to learn about, an LLC, a corporation. I knew that those existed. I did not know really what the difference between them was, right. What's a sole proprietor. That was all very new. I've never really taken, a deep dive into economics or business type work. So I was still pretty clueless into all of that. So while creating this game, if you purchase the game, it comes with an instruction manual where we include all of this information. So there's financial literacy vocabulary. There's even an infographic in there breaking down the difference between the different business structures. So it was really eye-opening, thinking that I'm learning this for the first time. So imagine how many other people out there will also be learning this for the first time when they play this game. So it's a scary thought, but it's also an exciting thought about what the future could open up if we start really teaching our youth this at a younger age.
And a quick plug for my queen. She's now getting her MBA.
Yes,
so
I am.
She's gone from not knowing the real difference between the LLC, corporation, sole proprietor, to now about to get her MBA. So she's, go ahead.
And I'd like to say that Black Wall Street definitely had a small part in motivating me to do that, because realizing that I don't know as much that I would like to, especially starting our own business, that definitely motivated me to learn as much about it as possible. So
that's awesome.
On my way.
That's awesome. I mean, I went through something similar a few years ago. I went to college for biology, and then I realized that working for someone in biology is not going to get me where I need to be financially to be able to provide for my children, etc. And so I went back to school to get a master's degree in business. So I have this master's degree now in business, and I use that to become an entrepreneur. I use that knowledge because I didn't know the first thing about business, to be honest with you. So I use that knowledge to start businesses, and I think for those of you who are listening, you need to take that to heart. Here's someone who's telling you, someone just like you, who's telling you, look, we had no idea what it was, aspects of business. And here we are now pushing to be entrepreneurs, and in learning, we're pushing to learn further,
Yes.
I think that's a great thing, man. So let's talk about the board game Black Wall Street a little bit.
Let's do it.
I can see anyone who familiarizes themselves with the game, the first thing they're going to say is like, oh, it's like Monopoly, right? But I'm certain that this game is not like Monopoly. Can you prove me wrong or not?
Wrong. I mean, I can prove you right. Is that what you want me to do?
You prove me wrong or prove me right. Yeah.
Okay. So Monopoly is more so, we all grew up playing Monopoly, or a lot of us did. It's a real estate investing game. So you're going around the board, you're investing in houses, you're investing in hotels, you're building real estate. Mm-hmm. And it's not necessarily built off of real life. It's all kind of fictional.
Right.
Whereas Black Wall Street, the board game, you're not investing in real estate. These are all businesses. Mm. So on the board, you'll go around and you'll see Booker T. Washington High School. You'll see Madam C.J. Walker Salon. You'll see William Dreamland Theater, which were all real businesses during the Black Wall Street time. Right. So you're going around and you're playing a game, but you're living in the real history of Northern Tulsa, Oklahoma. And instead of investing in real estate, you have the opportunity to buy these businesses.
Nice.
So as you're going around and you land on Madam C.J. Walker Beauty Salon, you can either use the business for X amount of dollars, like $20, mm-hmm. or you can invest and buy that business as a sole proprietor for $200. And now you own that. So whenever someone else lands on Madam C.J. Walker, they're paying you as the sole proprietor. Mm-hmm. And then if you want to increase your return on investment, you can go ahead and reinvest into your business to create it a LLC or to create a corporation. That way you're getting more money.
Oh, that's powerful.
So I can definitely see how some people think, the gameplay wise, it's going to be kind of familiar to you. You're going to roll dice, you're going to buy things. Mm-hmm. But, the foundation of the game is built on Black history, which is very different. And then the fact that you're investing in businesses, not real estate, is also different. And then there's, a bunch of more small differences, but those I think are the main two that set it apart from Monopoly.
Okay, so for the listeners, I hope you paid attention. The value in this game is something totally different than a Monopoly. The value is your Black history, and the value is you being able to sit in the entrepreneur seat and make decisions whether to buy or I guess to lease, etc. So, this is a much different game. Don't get caught up in the looks, because a lot of times our people get caught up in how things look, right? And instead, get caught up in the idea that you're going to actually learn some business acumen and some Black history where Tulsa, Oklahoma is concerned. So
I think even more importantly, sorry, Mr. Coco, we moved on?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So I think the whole point of the board game is for, as Queen Sinclair said, for 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds to begin learning the difference between a sole proprietorship, an LLC, a corporation, to begin learning that, if I use a business 5 or 6 times, maybe I should go ahead and just open up a barbershop. Maybe I should go ahead and start my own grocery store. Mm-hmm. And if we're able to inspire the youth to even think about owning those type of businesses in elementary school, in middle school, then, this next generation of Black entrepreneurs is going to skyrocket and just, let our community be better, I think, if more people are owning their businesses.
And I want to also add on that I've seen this epiphany click in the youth. I've seen it in person, and it was a beautiful moment to witness. We were at an event tabling, and we actually did not have the games available at that time, but we had a few available to play. And so there were two young boys. I believe they were twins, and they came to the table and they played for the entire event, probably about 2 hours. But I sat there with them and kind of helped them through it and play it. And so as they were playing, one of the young boys was going around, and he landed on something, and he was like, okay, so I landed on this, so I have to pay, right? And I was like, yes, you either have to use it or you have to buy it. And he's like, well, at this point, you have to pay to use everything. You might as well just buy your own business. And I was like, exactly. So I was like, exactly. You're getting it. And it was beautiful to witness that moment because hopefully he will also think about that in real life now as he goes to the barbershop with his dad. Like, Dad, we come to this barbershop every 2 weeks or whatever. What happens if we started our own or something like that? Just to get them in the mindset of thinking like, what if I start my own? Because that was never something that I even really thought about at that age. So it was a really nice moment to witness.
You know, it's funny you mentioned barbershop. I saw a headline, I think it was last night, that I forget where it is now, but somewhere in the U.S., some Asian guys opened a black barbershop. And I guess one of the black guys in the neighborhood went to the barbershop and asked if he could be hired as a barber. And they said, no, we don't hire black barbers.
Wow.
We've seen in the news let's say the last year in particular.
Like I think was it Chris Rock? He did a hair documentary about who's making money off of black beauty products and black hair, and it wasn't black people.
No.
So I find that very, very interesting.
Yeah, and a part of that is because we don't understand business, and so. But by the way, I'm going to be playing the game with my kids, and I advise all of the adults who are listening to purchase this game and not just give it to your kids and tell them to have at it, but actually sit there and play as well. Because all of us, even black adults, need to learn business.
Right.
But I was saying that in the last year or so, we've been seeing attacks on black women in these Asian businesses and stuff like that. And everyone keeps saying, hey, everyone in the conscious community keeps saying, hey, why don't you go to other black nail shops or black hair care stores or open up a black nail shop or what have you. And it seems like it's not sinking in. And my hope is that a game like yours, even though it's aimed at the children, that the adults get involved and something clicks for them. The same way Queen Sinclair said that, she saw the epiphany, she saw that light go on. I would like to see that light go on with the adults. What thoughts do you have about adults getting some of this knowledge from the board game that you have?
So we've had, our college friends play the game, and they've learned the difference between a sole proprietorship and LLC, and they've learned about Black history. So I definitely agree with you, Brother Coco. It's not just for the young. It's also for, anywhere from college graduates, PhD students to you're 70 years old. You can still learn. You can still grow. I also want to talk a little bit about, opening other businesses like a nail shop or a hair shop. I think where we struggle, and I'm seeing this even in our business, is the supply chain. So if you're trying to be an entrepreneur, the more product that you can buy at one time and sell to your people, the bigger profit margins you can get. But if you're, trying to get hair from Asia, because that's where it is, and you're trying to buy it from them, it's going to be very difficult to buy in bulk, especially if you're not in that community, you're not in the know. And then when you start a Black business, your costs are high because you're buying in America, because that's where your social capital is.
Right.
So then it's just harder for us to make a big profit because we're buying from America, which has already, marked up the price 200% so that they can make their profit. So I feel like with the recent kind of modernization of Africa due to, ACON and other investments, I think there's going to be huge opportunities moving forward to get these raw materials straight from Africa and then bring it here to America to give to African Americans entrepreneurship or just, businesses in general.
I'd like to get the Queen's take on that too, but let's pause here for a commercial break. And on the other side, let's talk more about business, if that's okay with you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, just hold on there. Let me do this commercial break. I'll be right back.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAC Radio.
Peace, family. This is Oni, inviting you to listen to the Pro-Black Perspective, where Black problems are addressed with Black solutions. Black people face one problem: the problem of ignorance. This is why those who opposed us stole us from our parents, disconnected us from our continent, and enforced on us illiteracy. But now the ignorance is self-inflicted. We send our children to their machines. We detach ourselves from our motherland, and we don't read meaningful literature. Consciousness is a series of stages. The sooner we get to one, the sooner we are ready for the higher. The Pro-Black Compendium accelerates the beginner to the advanced and provides for the advanced an unparalleled breadth. This is the sort of book your enemies do not want you to read, but our ancestors would insist you read twice.
Peace Seeker. This is Oni from the Pro-Black Perspective, and we need power. Power will not be handed to us. We need to build power. But in order to build power, we need a power blueprint. You need to study the best blueprints available. You have Gardners. You have Wilsons. You have Williams. You have mine. Now, you'll have Cooks. Carlos A. Cooks was Garvey's best student, the greatest mind in the world from 1940 to 1966. Yes, the greatest. Yet Whitey doesn't want you to read his blueprint. Cook's blueprint isn't religious. Cook's isn't for integration. Cook's isn't for communism. Cook's isn't even for anti-blacks. Cook's blueprint is for Africa. And Cook's blueprint is the unknown blueprint that was the basis of black power as we know it today. When you say buy black, you're talking about Cooks. When you say black is beautiful, you're talking about Cooks. When you say Malcolm got something right, you're talking about Cooks. But Cook's blueprint was lost, and Whitey is hiding that blueprint behind a $1,000 paywall. He's hiding solutions from you, telling you you need to take out a small loan to get the information that can liberate you. Whitey does not want you to have solutions to your problems, but you need solutions. You need power. I will give you the Carlos A. Cooks Reader, valued over $1,000 at a 98% discount, $15. Send $15 to cash.me/$ABSONI with the subject Carlos and your email address, and I'll send you the ebook. We need power. You need blueprints. Start building today.
Greetings, family. This is Koku, host of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. In case you didn't know, we have an online book club called the Bitter Medicine Book Club. Every month, we will select a book to inspire the Bitter Medicine Podcast listening audience to read along together. At the end of the month, we will have a call-in show and book discussion. This is a great, dynamic way for readers to not only enjoy a book, but also have others to bounce ideas off of. They say if you want to keep anything away from black people, put it in a book. Don't allow this to be true. Head over to bittermedicineblogs.com and subscribe to our newsletter for important updates. Do that today. Join our reading collective today and empower yourselves, your family, and your community. Peace and blessings.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAC Radio.
Welcome back to the Bitter Medicine Podcast. Today, we are joined by Mr. Davonte Walker and his Queen Sinclair, and we are discussing their business, True Health Forever, and in particular, we're discussing the new board game that they developed about Black Wall Street.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Devon, before the break, you started to talk about supply chains, and I want to talk about that briefly and tie it into your board game. So you dropped some knowledge about something there. So I think a lot of folks who understand that we need to buy black and create black businesses, I think they understand that general concept, but they don't understand a nuance about that, which is supply chain. And you kind of was breaking that down for a second there, that, hey, if you're trying to open a nail salon or a hair care store, and you're buying your items from, within America, because other groups have the supply chain locked where the items, originate from, that you're going to be spending sometimes 2 or 3 times more for these products, right?
Right.
And so I think that's a good point for the listeners to understand that business is about penetration, and you have to penetrate to the point of distribution. So to cut down your costs, you have to be getting your items from the source, so to speak. Now,
right.
When you guys were developing the board game, did you incur those types of problems?
Oh man, yes, sir. We're still looking at those problems right now.
Okay.
Because we want to make the board game affordable, because the point is to give it to our community so they can learn. If we make the board game, $75, $80, now the people who are buying it probably aren't necessarily the people who actually need that type of education.
Right.
So right now, like the price point that the board game is at, we are not making a huge profit on it, but that's okay, because our point is it's education. We want to get this into the hands of children, into the hands of families, so that they can learn. So we're okay with not making a huge profit on it. But in the future, if we are trying to grow Black Wall Street and sell, thousands of them, hopefully, then we're going to need to find a supplier who can give it to us at a more cost-effective cost.
Yeah.
And Nipsey Hussle has a song called "Double Up." And basically just talking about how everything that you're selling as an entrepreneur, you should try to double your profit. So if you buy something for $5, you should be selling it for $10.
Mm-hmm.
So the further you are from the source, the more likely it is that you're paying like quadruple or 8 times what the original person paid for it. So if you're buying something from America and it's $20, they probably bought it from someone else for $10, who bought it from someone else for $5, where it got made in China for $2.50.
Mm-hmm.
So the closer as a business you can get to buying the original, if it's a nail shop, buying the original nail polish, buying the original nail clippers, the what are they using? I don't even know. I don't get my nails done, but yeah, the closer you can get to the actual supplies, where they're made, where they're manufactured, and buy directly from them, the easier it is for you to sell it to your customers at a lower price. Mm-hmm. And also seeing that with shipping costs. So a lot of people are, reaching out to us about, free shipping or 2-day shipping or cheaper shipping. And this, as an entrepreneur, makes me realize how Amazon has really disrupted e-commerce business for all entrepreneurs. Because Amazon for years was taking a loss for the shipping. But Amazon's $1 billion, now $1 trillion company, so they can take a loss for shipping. Whereas a small business like myself, or maybe even you, if you're shipping e-commerce stuff, it's very hard for us to, eat that $5 of shipping costs, because our profit margin might only be $10. So now we have to pay for free shipping. Now our profit's only $5 per item. That can hurt a small business. But I feel like, as a customer, and if you're not an entrepreneur, you might not see or know about that side of the business.
Man, that's beautiful. Right there, you just gave a masterclass on being an entrepreneur. I know, seriously, because a lot of people don't understand. A lot of people think it's just say I'm open for business and you have a business. That's not at all how it works, right? And so you just gave people, hopefully people listening are starting to realize, oh, wow, So when you guys who are listening, when you have your own business and you have family and friends who are begging you to give them a discount,
right?
Remember this podcast. Remember what Mr. Walker and his Queen Sinclair told you guys here today. Queen Sinclair, as an MBA student, well, I guess you're in the program now, right?
Just started, yeah.
Yeah. So, based on your experience with the board game and the business in general, do you have any ideas or any thoughts on how blacks can penetrate the market in business a little bit deeper to get closer to the source? Because right now, it seems to me a lot of different groups have the sources on lock, even in Africa. So how can we, do you have any ideas how we can circumvent that?
That's a very good question.
Right.
I'm going to actually defer to Devon because I think he has a better answer for that question.
Okay.
Yeah, we're a great team.
Yeah, clearly.
So I would say we got to get back to the roots of community or collective economics.
Right.
So sometimes we try to break down everything. And it's like, oh, I want to be a founder of my own salon. I want to do my own supply chain. But if let's say, 15 nail shops open up all throughout, we're in LA, so all throughout LA. If they all buy from the same supplier, now they're buying more products at a time. So they'll probably get a group discount, which will allow them to sell and, create a bigger return on investment for each individual store. If every soul food restaurant across the U.S. bought from the same chicken supplier, bought the same exact barbecue sauce, bought the same exact ketchup, then the price point that you would pay per item would go down because the number of items that the collective is buying is larger.
Right.
So I think if, as Black entrepreneurs, if we're able to work, a little bit more closely, like if we can reach out to other health organizations or other board game organizations, if you work with other podcast companies, then we will better the community as a whole. That's my opinion. And, I'm not in the MBA program yet. I might get mine someday. I'm really just trying to learn vicariously through Sinclair over here. But I really just think if we're able to buy more things in bulk until we can get to the root source, that's kind of our best bet.
Yeah. I've seen others try to do this, and to some success too, with those kind of like food cooperatives where you bring in the farmers, you buy from the farmers, but you buy in bulk, and so it keeps the costs down and everyone's happy. So I appreciate you giving that insight to listeners. Also, let me ask you this: how can the listeners help you and your queen with your business right now?
That's great. And I don't want to, sell, because you already gave us that that beautiful compliment that we're on here being genuine. So I don't necessarily want to sell. So I think the biggest way they can help us in general is just try to educate themselves on health. So not even, the board game is economic health specifically, but the real battle for us is your lifespan. If you're not able to live past 60, there's a lot of life that you're missing out on, your grandkids' life, your kids' life. So if you're able to just change your eating habits, a lot of our eating habits are built on culture. Like soul food, for example, was built on the plantation. We ate the leftover food. We ate the chitlins. We ate the pig feet. We ate the greens. And that was 150, 200 years ago that we were eating that. And today, we might still eat that for just by choice, but we have so much better food that we can eat that will actually nourish our bodies. But our culture is kind of still stuck 200 years ago. So I think if you want to help True Health Forever, really just live your own personal best life, try to better your physical, your social, your spiritual, and your economic health the best way you can.
And I'll add on to that. This is kind of where I'm very passionate in terms of the nutrition side is be open-minded. I feel like because I try, even to my own family, kind of try to tell them about things that I learn about. I like reading on nutrition and watching documentaries on nutrition. And I try to kind of tell my folks and tell my family, what I'm learning. And a lot of times I can tell that the door is already closed. They're not even willing to listen. They're not willing to, and I've seen this with multiple people, even friends. You try to tell them, they're like, no. I'm gonna eat how I want, and then I'll die happy.
McDonald's is healthy.
Yeah, and it's like I really want for people to just kind of open their mindset a little bit and just be open to trying new things and open to the idea that maybe their way of living is not the healthiest. You got to accept that first to even want to be able to change any habits. So I would say how you can help us is really just take a second and look at your life habits right now. Look at what you're eating. Look at what you're watching. Look at what you're feeding your brain. Look at what you're reading. Look at how you're spending your money, and really, really take a second to think about how you are living a holistically healthy life, and if you are living a holistically healthy life, and if you are maybe thinking you're not living the healthiest life, okay, then go and make one step to actively try to change that. Right. You don't have to drastically change everything in one day, but just make one step at a time to try to live a healthier life. And if you keep doing that, everybody talks about the New Year's resolutions, rather than trying to say, okay, I'm going to cut out soda for the whole year. Maybe start to say, I'm going to cut down by one soda can a week or something. That's a good goal to start with. Yeah. You got to make it a realistic goal to start with. You can't just say, I'm going to never drink soda again. That's not a realistic goal, and you'll probably end up, going back on that. So I want to just encourage people to kind of look introspectively and really analyze whether you're living your best life. And if not, come up with one way right now, this upcoming week, that you're going to live a healthier life. Because that's how we started.
So if you're listening, I want you guys to head over to truehealth4ever.com. And I want you guys to support this couple that you're listening to. Let me do some ego stroking and some explaining at the same time. Earlier I said that if you listen to the couple on the show today speak about their business, they're not trying to make a sale. And I meant that. They're being sincere, but at the same time, they are entrepreneurs. And so the best thing you can do is to support them by buying their product, which you could find at playblackwallstreet.com. At the end of the day, I don't want you guys to lose sight that entrepreneurs are business people and they do make money. But what I was getting at with, when I said they're not here trying to push a sale is that a lot of the people, and I won't call names in this podcast like I usually do because I don't want it to reflect on the king and queen on the show today, but a lot of so-called business professionals who have these podcasts and these YouTube videos and stuff like that, if you pay attention to them, they'll say one thing about business and then next thing they'll be trying to sell you something. And that's not what this couple is doing. This couple really sounds to me like they care. And yes, as a side note to them caring, they have this product that they're selling. And so I'm asking you guys who are listening to support them by actually purchasing the board game. I think it's a wonderful idea. I think it's good for yourselves and your children and any other black person around you, man, woman, boy, or girl. So support them in that way. We have Christmas coming up.
Yes, sir.
Great time to buy this gift. I will be purchasing it for my kids even before Christmas. Purchase this as a Christmas gift and give it out to your loved ones. The same way almost every black family that I know who has any board games in their house has Monopoly. Have this game on your shelf as well.
Yeah, and the goal last year was to have games in the house by the holiday season. So we've accomplished that. Now we just need to actually, sell the games and get them in the hands of customers. But that was the ultimate vision is, we want to see people eating their food and then also kids on the side playing the board game. And if you bought the game, take pictures during the holiday season. We would love to see all the families playing the game. That would just, that would make me so happy.
Okay. So you'll be getting some pictures from me. As soon as I get the game, you'll get pictures from me.
Hey, thank you, Coach.
That's my pledge. And you guys need to make the same pledge. Make a pledge today. The holidays are coming. Go to the website, playblackwallstreet.com, and purchase your board game or purchase 2 of them today. Give it out for gifts, okay? I wanted to ask you another question, the both of you. Besides what the fans can do in terms of buying the game now, what do you guys intend to do going forward? Because I'm listening to you, and I could tell that this is not it for you guys. This is one idea, and you have others. Because I'm similar, so people recognize others. You know what I mean? So, what else, if you don't mind, what else do you have planned down the road?
Right. So how far down are we going?
I know.
Because me and the Queen Sinclair, we talk like 10 years, 20 years down the line sometimes.
That's the way to do it.
We have a lot of passions, but sorry, what was that?
No, I said that's the way to do it. You talk 10, 20 years down the road, so there's there's very little surprises. But what I want to make sure that you guys don't give away any secrets. So just, what do you have in the immediate future, that you can share, that the people listening can look forward to?
Well, immediate future in regards to Black Wall Street, the goal is to try to get those into schools. So it is an educational piece. It's a Black history, financial literacy, economics piece. So if we can get these into, Brooklyn schools, into Compton schools, into Chicago schools, and so that students can have this folded into their curriculum, that would be really beautiful. So that's something like an immediate step that we're trying to work on right now. And then after that, I do currently work in education, and I would love to continue and, help support either my own school or a school with other communities involved in it, or a research center specifically. So, we're both products of UC Davis, which is a Tier 1 research institution, which researches anything from solar panel to economics to history to slavery. But I'm really passionate about African diaspora. So I want to help start a research center that focuses on the African diaspora in regards to economics, history, technology, businesses, startup, health, all that, researching kind of like the problems, the disparities, but also, the ups and downs of the community and how we can move forward in the future. So that's a few of the things that I'm working on. And then also way down the line, I want to also have a media company. The Queen talked about what we're feeding our brains through television, through comic books, through blogs, all that stuff. So we already have a YouTube channel, TH4 TV, where we're starting to kind of put a little bit of our content on there. But, creating movies, creating cartoons, creating TV shows that all have a positive Black message in them is one of my ultimate goals, 20 years, 30 years down the line. Now I'll let the Queen go ahead and talk about her stuff.
Yes.
So the more immediate future in terms of True Health Forever, I have a couple things that I'm working on. So currently working on an intermittent fasting weight loss plan because I personally struggled with my weight a lot coming out of college, and I have friends that are doing the same thing. And so I've tried a whole bunch of different ways to lose weight, and, some not the healthiest and some just not successful. So I finally find something that works for me. And so I'm putting it into a plan to give to the world to see if it will work for anybody else. And then coming after that, I also mentioned that I'm passionate about nutrition, and I'm also passionate about cooking and baking. So I'm going to kind of combine those two passions and create a recipe book.
Fire.
Yeah.
This woman can cook.
I love to cook, and he loves to eat, so it works out. So I'll be coming up with some recipe books, and we are both pescatarian. We have been for a little over a year now. And so I want to create a pescatarian recipe book, so it'll have some nice healthy and good pescatarian and vegetarian recipe books. Because we also have we eat quite a bit of vegetarian meals as well. And then way down the road, in terms of True Health Forever, I think both of our ultimate goals would be to create what we're calling a Black Health Center. And so this is honestly kind of what started the whole vision. We kind of created the vision of Black Health Center and worked backwards into what we have right now.
Okay.
So this Black Health Center would be, the research center would be kind of a subset of that. But we would also have like a health clinic, have a daycare center, have a gym there, have fitness classes. We'd have cooking classes, and even like, counselors there to help from mental health. So it's everything that we're talking about, the social health, the physical health, the economic health, financial advisors, wealth management. Like these are all things, a one-stop shop that we want for the Black community to be able to go to live their best life. What do you need? You need advice on your health. You need advice on nutrition. You need help on how to cook healthy meals for your family. You need a place for your kids to stay during the day so you can go out and, make money. Do you need, advice on, are you struggling socially or mentally and you need advice, just someone to talk to? Whatever the struggle is, we want to make a one-stop shop for people to go to just get what they need to fuel their life and to be able to improve their quality of life and live their best life. Right. Because there is such a stigma with, the Black community and going to doctors and going to see, get mental help and seeing, people don't like to go and talk about their feelings and see counselors. So let's get someone who looks like you to go and you can go and really feel like you can open up and there's no stigmas. There's no, nobody judging you. They have problems just like you. So we just want to create that space where you can, for everybody to go and get what they need, basically.
And you guys are 24 and 25?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Let me say this to the listeners. If you're not talking like this, at whatever ages you are, which I'm sure is in your 30s, 40s, most of you, this is real relationship goals right here. What you're listening to right now. I'm dead serious. This is real relationship. I mean, listen to what they're talking about right now. These are two builders, a man and a woman, both of them producers, both of them builders. This is what we need in the black community in general, but this is what we really need in the conscious community. And I want to ask you guys your thoughts on consciousness. But before I do that, I want to say to you guys, I don't know how familiar you guys are because we just met a few days ago on Instagram. But the Bitter Medicine podcast is a whole kind of thing. So I have a blog site, I have the podcast, I have a book club, which you might have heard me talk about at the start of the show. And most important to me, I have a think tank. And I've done podcasts, I've done episodes before, you could look them up, talking about the Black community needs more think tanks. And the think tank that I have is focused on education. Because I think that we need to have more African-centered curricula.
Yep.
Because we don't have enough African-centered schools. We don't have enough at the time to even get by. So what we need to do is create curricula that can supplement the common school education that our Black children are receiving. The common school education is distancing Black students from their community and from their African culture. And so this think tank, and I'd like to extend an invitation to both of you to join the think tank. It's on WhatsApp, so you don't have to commit to traveling anywhere. But we try and have dialogue about what items we need to have in curricula. We also need things like, recreation, that's positive reinforcement, which is what the Black Wall Street board game is, in my mind. It's like positive reinforcement. So I'd like to invite you to the think tank. If you're interested, let me know. I'll send you the link. All right.
Yeah, I can already tell you I'm interested already because I work in education, so I can already tell you, yes, I'm very interested.
And we need people like you. Yeah.
Something that I think is interesting is other cultures, like the Jewish community, the Chinese community, the Japanese community, they have like after school centers, after school programs where students go and they're getting that history, or they're getting Cantonese, or they're getting Hebrew lessons. So I think, even a small start, if we can't build a school, is to have those after school programs where elementary school students or middle school students of the African diaspora can go to learn these things that you just talked about.
Yeah, because I also envision that we need to create a conscious culture, right? Where there's certain codes that we live by, there's certain readings that we must all partake in, there's certain games that we should all be familiar with, like yours. Certain eating habits and health, health regimens and stuff that the Queen was speaking about. We need this stuff. So two people like yourself, I would love to have in there to give input, and also for the think tank to also help you guys too in getting the message out about this about this board game and the True Health Forever business that you have.
Yes, sir. So, we appreciate them.
Yeah, no, it's not a problem, man. And I off air, I want to ask you guys about something else too, but I'll do that one off air. In the meantime, consciousness. Before we go, what's your take? I'd like to get both the King and the Queen's take on the state of consciousness. Is it where it should be, as far as you're concerned?
So, and I'm going to ask a clarifying question. For consciousness, are we talking about just African American or African diaspora history and knowing our information? Or are we talking more so spiritual third eye consciousness?
That's a very good clarifying question. I guess I'm speaking of the former more than the latter. In terms of, a lot of us are woke, as they say, but are we really? Because are we producing anything? Like you guys are producers and trying to produce other things, but are we really producing, or are we just engaging in rhetoric?
Got you.
Yeah.
So my take on it is I think Black consciousness is on the rise, most definitely. You can maybe chalk it up to Black Panther coming out and more people are proud to be Black or proud to have African roots. You can chalk it up to just the internet in general. It's easier to find information, whereas like 15, 20 years ago, it was hard to find information about Africa. It was hard to find information about, our ancestors. But now you can go on Google, you can go on no one goes on Yahoo anymore. You can go on Google. You can go on Google and you can search all types of Black history if you're trying to become woke, if you're trying to increase your consciousness. Now, where I think there is a divide is people's fear to take action. And I think, things like the bombing of Northern Tulsa, Oklahoma, the bombing of churches in Alabama, like every time Black people or Black conscious people take action, there's usually some type of violence that comes with that action. So I think there's a lot of talk on social media. There's a lot of consciousness going around, but I think people are afraid to take actions because according to our history, if you take actions, there are repercussions.
Absolutely. And Queen?
I completely agree. I think that, even amongst our circle right now, we have so many friends who are starting their own businesses, starting photography businesses, starting social media managing businesses, starting, barber businesses. And that's a really beautiful thing to see because, we're all pretty young. We're all just getting out of college, and we all kind of have that mindset of, okay, well, if I want to really make my stamp on the world and I want to help the community, the first step is to, is become an entrepreneur, is to start my own business, is to, really get out in the world. And like you said, not be afraid of the backlash, not be afraid, and really just take action. And I think that at least in our circle of friends and people around us, we're definitely seeing that. So that's what I think. That's why I think it's definitely on the rise. And we definitely still have a ways to go because, like you said, there are definitely people who are still just talking about it. And they talk about being woke, but they don't really take any action. They don't really produce anything to help the situation. So definitely think that, we need to not only be woke, but also figure out what each of us has to offer to the world to solve the problem, to put us as a community in a better place. What talents, what passions do you have? Whatever it is, you can offer those services, that knowledge to the world to help put us into a better place. So I do think we have a long ways to go, but I think we're on the rise. I think this new generation coming in, I think our heads are on straight. Our parents taught us right, and I think we're going to do some damage on the world.
Thanks, Mama. Thanks, Dad. But I have one more thing about the Black consciousness and kind of starting in your businesses. When we were first starting the board game, and it was just a concept, it was an idea, and we were pitching it to investors. We were talking to mentors. Some of the non-diaspora folk were kind of complaining about it being a Black specific board game. They're like, "Oh, why is it Black Wall Street? Why not just make a Wall Street game?" And I think it was their lack of understanding of the history behind it as well. Because when we first pitched, Black Wall Street, the board game, they thought it was just a spinoff of regular Wall Street that's in New York. They had no idea about the actual history of Northern Tulsa, Oklahoma. And once we educated them a little bit about the actual history of the game and where it comes from, then they felt a little bit more comfortable. They still didn't like it completely, but they felt a little bit more comfortable with it being Black Wall Street. So I say that to, one, just encourage entrepreneurs that when you get that backlash from people outside the diaspora, outside the community, just stay true to what you want to do, what the purpose of yourself and your business is, because, you're definitely going to hit some walls, hit some barriers from people outside the community who don't want it to be Black specific.
And I also like to kind of challenge that mindset in terms of, even if it is Black Wall Street, that does not mean that anybody else can't play the game and learn just as much. So just because it has the name Black on it does not mean that it's only for Black people. That is our target audience, but that does not mean that you have to be Black to play this game. Anybody that plays this game will be learning something. So that I always like to challenge that mindset is, even if it does say Black Wall Street, why does that mean that you cannot get on board, with the product?
Right.
I don't do this often, but I got to give that a round of applause. That is just beautiful. I want the listeners to soak in that energy that the King and Queen just dropped there. And if you want to soak in more of the energy, you just heard that they will accept the invitation to the think tank, which I extended. I made an open invitation a few weeks ago. So you guys who are out there, come and join us. Let's do this thing. I also want to say playbackwallstreet.com, playbackwallstreet.com, playbackwallstreet.com. Make sure, go to that site today. The link will be in the description. Also, just a reminder, Christmas is coming. 2 months after that, Black History Month will be upon us. You have you have the next few months to really support this endeavor. I just wanted to ask you guys a question. Did you guys have a GoFundMe or anything to raise the initial capital for this board game?
So initially we tried a Kickstarter. So we launched our Kickstarter in June of this year, and that Kickstarter was not successful. So the goal was to raise $28,000. We did not hit that mark. So all the money that we did get was given back to the backers. And, it wasn't successful for a number of reasons. I think we could have done better with exposure, media, all that stuff. But long story short, we didn't let that stop us. So even though we didn't get our initial big seed capital, we still came back and we were able to do the first round of productions. And now we're in, selling the game. So, if you're out there, you don't necessarily need to do a GoFundMe. You don't need a Kickstarter. They do help. I will say that. Yeah. They do help. But if you're not successful, make sure you stay true to your mission. You keep it pushing. You find a different route.
Wow. Inspirational. I want to thank you guys for appearing on the show. Before we go, please let the people know where they can find you on social media, on your website. Please share that with the listeners.
Yes, sir. So you can follow me personally, Davonte Walker on Instagram. Invest in Davon Walker. I changed that when I started this company with the Queen, and it was really, my pledge to invest in myself to make sure that I'm putting good energy into me. That way I can give back to the community. So invest in Davon Walker. That's on Instagram at True Health, 4 ever on Instagram. And then you can follow our website, truehealth4ever.com, playblackwallstreet.com, handing it to the Queen.
You can find me personally on Instagram at No Limits, and that's with 5 Z's at the end. Z5. We also have a Pinterest. You can just type in True Health Forever, and that's actually where I get a lot of the recipes that we make, and I'll post pictures to our Instagram. So again, we're holistic health. So, any type of tidbits that I get from Pinterest about social health or spiritual health, I like to pin and share. And then we're also on Twitter, and that's True Health Forever. So
TH, 4 official.
There you go.
Great. I'll be following all that at the end of the show here myself. I'm also on Pinterest too, so I'll definitely be following you guys. I want to thank you again for appearing on the show. Again, to the listeners, playblackwallstreet.com, playblackwallstreet.com. One more time,
playblackwallstreet.com.
Support this brother and sister. We need more of this in our community, but in the meantime, let's support those who are doing it. Once again, I'd like to thank you guys for appearing. And
yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Much success to you and your podcast and all the other ventures you got going on, Brother Coco.
Much appreciated, okay?
Thanks for listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast with your host, Koku. If you like what you just heard, we hope you pass along our web address, bittermedicineblogs.com, to your friends and colleagues, and share our show to all your social media. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts. This has been a KWAZ radio production. Join us next time for another session of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Bitter Medicine Show, Twitter, Bitter Meds, Tumblr, Bitter Meds, Instagram, Bitter Medicine.